Hi, this is Mukta Arora. I am the Managing Director here at Astellas Global Pharma Capability Center in India. And it's my pleasure to share some lessons that I've learned from my professional journey. So, one of the things that I often talk about is how one has to learn the business first before we talk about our jobs. And I had the good fortune of becoming the first management trainee in the pharmaceutical industry. And at that time, straight out of college, I had to go through various functions. I had to spend at least a month in each function, from legal, regulatory, finance, marketing, sales, manufacturing, supply chain, regulatory, exports, all of that. And it looked probably too much at that time. But as I look back, I realized that that gave me the perfect foundation to actually understand the whole business, why we exist, what value we create for our customers, our patients, and what is the purpose of our existence. And today I realize that I'm a better person, better professional today because I at least understand parts of all the business value chains that exist. And that's something that I definitely learned over time, that you just cannot be focused on your own job or your own job description. We have to go beyond, understand why that job exists. So that was very foundational and very helpful till today. Another thing that I recall is I was very young, maybe 25, and I was asked to set up a biotech company at that time with my supervisor. And although the job description talked about sales and marketing, I had to really start from scratch and do everything to set up the company, hire talent, train talent, make strategy for the company, do the HR piece as well, and then had the P&L responsibility for that. It was a very successful startup, and I really enjoyed my time. But what it entailed and what it interested me with was responsibility at an early age. So taking accountability for results, taking responsibility was something that was taught through that experience, that became part of me as I grew along. Of course, I did mistakes. That was a time when you would feel, either you know everything or you don't know anything, and therefore you just had to try. And many times what you tried would work, sometimes it won't work, but those lessons made you more curious about what not to do and what to do, and that helped a lot. So those were some things that stay very close to me as I moved on, and accountability stayed one of the virtues. uh, one few years later, I was posted in Europe, and I had responsibility for the project in 5 different top European countries. And that was another big lesson. I mean, I had lots of self doubt whether I'll be able to do it. A woman coming from India telling very experienced people across these different countries and cultures, that we have to change how we work. How will that be taken, right? So it involved a lot of um, self confidence, a lot of self talk to say that, okay, I can do it. But it required a lot of preparation as well. I had to get down from just being in India with my team to understanding different cultures, understanding different nuances, the way decisions were made, the way one has to communicate, the way business was looked at in different countries, and how India was perceived and how a woman from India was perceived, right? And all of this is like 20 years back, and I had to kind of learn many new things about different cultures before I could establish trust, credibility with my stakeholders. I had to present to the top leadership in Europe, and that required a lot of confidence. So there were lots of barriers. There were perceived barriers, some real barriers. But then at that time, I realized that there was no going back. I had to succeed. And a lot of, self introspection, gaining strength from within to say that, okay, I have nothing to lose. I'll try my best. I will be my authentic self. I'll be humble because, I didn't know everything there. I was learning. And I'll demonstrate through my hard work and humility that I am there to help and change. And that's how I gained stakeholders' confidence, trust, and the project was hugely successful. But beyond that success, I think I felt victorious for my own self because I had learned a lot during that time working across different cultures. And as the world is becoming global, these things become very important that you stay open, to different things, to different frames of mind, to different cultures, different perspectives, and not just become very rigid in your approach. Okay, understand others before you expect others to understand you. And then create that bond of trust because that only helps you navigate through successes and failures. If you don't have trust, even a small mistake will be magnified. But if you have trust of your people, stakeholders, partners, colleagues, you can sail through with mistakes as well. And that's important. I came back and I also had this great experience of being first time senior manager, right? So I had very senior people reporting to me. Those were more experienced than I was, more like they were wiser than I was at that time. And that was a very interesting failure that I want to talk about because so far I had just exceeded and delivered on my objectives myself, right, alone. But this was a case where I had to deliver on large scale objectives with my people. So it was not about me, it was about people, it was about my team. And that's when I made my first mistake. I thought it I could get them to do what I wanted to do. I could get them to do how I wanted the work to be done, and I could create copies of myself. And that was a mistake because everybody is unique. People bring their whole experiences, and to manage more experienced uh, employees who are reporting to you, you have to first forget the work, understand your people, understand their motivations, understand what they need from you, how you can make them successful. And then, you engage their hearts, and performance is just a side effect. And then it comes all together. So it took a few months to bond the team, to get it together, to bring myself to that stage where I could say that, yeah, I could accept failures, but I'm ready to invest in my team first, and then we work together to achieve objectives. So, being a leader is not easy. Being a leader has a lot of responsibility, and the first step towards that leadership is building trust with people. Move their hearts, get into the hearts of people to really understand who they are, how they get, work, how they get motivated to do the work before you start even talking about work. So that lesson actually stood by me, was very, very helpful in my later years of life. Another thing that I recall from my early days was my first GM. He was such a great guy, absolutely fantastic. And he taught me humility. He was so humble that he would offer, to do our work when we were at the lowest rung in the hierarchy. And he would come to our desk and would sit by with us and, talk about what he can do to support. He would put off the lights when it was like 7:30 p.m. and I was still working. He'll come near me and say, "Time to go home." And I still remember those gestures of humanity, of humility that stayed with me. And I try to be somewhat like him. He is of course an idol for me. Um, and then as I evolved into a leader, I think one thing became very clear that you are part of a network. You're not solo. So don't think yourself as you and only you can change the world. You know, whatever you are achieving today is a result of a network or an ecosystem supporting you, be it at your home, your family, your nanny system, the person who drives you to office, and your all colleagues, your leaders, your influencers, your mentors, all of them are with you to make you successful. And be grateful for that, right? Be grateful and honored for their help and support, and be respectful for that. That's what I would say. Because this is one thing that you want to invest time on, to show your gratitude to people, to ensure that they stay with you and inculcate a network. You're not alone, right? So it's the universe is making you successful if you have all the positive energies and you acknowledge those. So acknowledging that others are supporting you and being grateful for those is very important as well. And one other lesson I learned is from my motherhood time when I became a mother. You know, always everybody thought I was at a senior level. It was very easy to say Mukta will quit now because, you know, she's becoming a mother. And at that time, it was a very difficult phase. I still remember I had those thoughts as well. Should I quit or not? And I'm sure that a lot of young women, young mothers go through that. Every day is a struggle, managing priorities. And I had that conversation a lot of time with myself. I just kept on thinking that I'll manage it. And one day when my son was about 5, I remember having this conversation where I told him I'm going to quit my job to be able to spend more time with him. And he said, "But you're already spending a lot of time, and I'm so proud of what you do. Don't quit. Don't quit, mama." And that stayed with me. I had made the assumption that, you know, he's missing me, he's wanting more time, he's not proud of me, he feels ignored, etc. So it was the greatest moment in the sense it provided me enough motivation to say that I can manage. I can manage things on in the family front, also at the work front, and myself as well. And I think a lot of young women need to really communicate, need to talk about what their emotions are, what their conflicts are, internal conflicts, to their family, to their partners, to their children, to in laws, so that we put the moose on the table. We actually discuss the problem and not make assumptions about others, right? Sometimes we make wrong assumptions about ourselves as well. So communication is another piece that I want to stress on, and I learned that don't keep it all inside you. You know, just put the moose on the table and start discussing. Form those relationships where you can actually discuss conflicts. You can actually discuss problems. You can discuss contrarian views with people, and you will find surprised because people will be helpful. People are there to help, right? And that's something we miss out on, that aspect, and we just take all the stress on ourselves. In talking of stress, I think the biggest piece is as you go through all, you have to take care of multiple priorities, even if you're not a mother. But as a woman, it's a lot of work on you. Just make sure that you take care of your mental, physical, spiritual health as well. You cannot pour from an empty cup, right? You have to be full in all respects. So something that I ignored in my early days but realized it later, that physical, mental, and spiritual health is extremely important. So, in the end, when I talk about leadership now at this stage of my life, I look back and I think it was all about making myself successful in the early years and now it's all about making others successful, right? So you feel a great sense of joy, satisfaction when you see people you have invested upon successful, growing their careers, right? It's not about the glory on for you for yourself now. It's about glory of others. And the more you give to others, the more you grow, because now I am learning all about the new technologies, the new ways of working from some of the very young colleagues, Gen Z, that are around me, and it makes me stay curious. It helps me stay a learner, helps me stay humble because I realize how much they know more compared to me. And also, it helps me get real joy and happiness. And that, I think, is also a very important side effect or a piece of leadership that one should start looking at, because when you give to others, you are actually doing it selfishly, because you gain a lot back. You gain a lot of positive energy back, which helps you stride further. So it's a great lesson that I've learned, that when you focus on others, automatically universe focuses on you. So keep going, keep inspiring, and keep learning. Thank you.